The motorcycle clutch. It's intimidating for new riders to use, but even expert motorcyclists don't always know how it works. I'll explain what a clutch is and how it functions so you can understand this all-important aspect of your motorcycle. Let's open up the shop manual. This episode of the shop manual is powered by DuraBoost batteries. Get 10% off your DuraBoost purchase at RevZilla.com with discount code 10OFF-TSM. In simplest terms, the motorcycle clutch serves to engage and disengage the engine to the rear wheel, so you can get rolling smoothly and shift gears. The lever on the handlebar controls the clutch down in the engine. And while this thing looks complicated, it's only made up of a few components and its operation is fairly simple. The clutch consists of the clutch bolts and springs, the pressure plate, the clutch pack, which is made up of alternating friction plates that have this grippy brake pad material on them and smooth steel plates, the inner hub, and finally, the outer basket. The outer basket is geared to the crankshaft, so that when the crankshaft turns, so does the outer basket. Then there's the inner hub, which is mated onto the transmission shaft via splines. When the inner hub turns, so does the transmission, and thus the rear wheel. The clutch pack is what provides the connection between these two separate rotating parts. The friction plates have tabs that slot into grooves in the outer basket, and the steel plates have tangs that slot into grooves on the inner hub. And finally, the pressure plate and springs force all the plates together. So, when your motorcycle's clutch lever is out, the springs and pressure plate are forcing the steel and friction plates together so that they grip and lock, and thus the outer basket, which is geared to the crank, and the inner hub, which is splined to the transmission, rotate together, and the engine drives the rear wheel. When you pull the clutch lever in, the pressure plate is pushed away from the clutch pack, reducing clamping force so that the steel plates and the friction plates can slip past each other. That means the outer basket and inner hub can spin independently. How far you pull or release the clutch lever determines how much pressure is applied to the clutch pack, and therefore how much it's allowed to slip. The area of lever travel where friction is just beginning to build and the clutch is engaging is known as the friction zone. It's that friction zone's gradual engagement that new riders often struggle with, but it's also that progressive friction that allows you to smoothly feed power to the rear wheel so you can get rolling, and it's what allows you to take the load off the transmission so you can shift gears. This type of multi-plate clutch is what the vast majority of modern motorcycles use, from motocrossers to sport bikes to cruisers. This assembly sits under the clutch cover in engine oil, which is why they're called wet clutches. Oil helps cool the clutch plates, and it's also crucial to the progressive, smooth engagement we all strive for. Because oil is so critical to how a clutch slips and grips, it's essential that you use oil labeled MA or MA2, meaning it's been engineered to work with a wet clutch. Using automotive oils or any oil labeled energy conserving may cause problems because those oils contain friction modifiers that might not get along with a motorcycle's wet clutch. So there you have it, a quick summary of what a clutch is and how it functions. Now that you understand how it works and what pulling and releasing the clutch lever actually does, hopefully the clutch will be less intimidating and perhaps even easier to use. Thanks for taking the time to watch this episode of the Shop Manual. Now that you know how a clutch works, you should also have your clutch lever slack properly adjusted. So scan that QR code on the screen for an article I wrote specifically about how to do that. And keep in mind that these shows, the Shop Manual, CTXP, Daily Rider, are all funded with money that comes from your purchase at RevZilla. So if you want to support these shows, you want to see them continue, please make your apparel and parts purchases through RevZilla. Thanks.